Hi everyone. How are you? Why the sad face, Hannah?
We're struggling to get Hannah on. So she's all the way out in Thailand, I think. We're having a couple technical difficulties, but that's okay. We're probably going to get her on. And if not, we can always have her come back to another meeting. But Caitlin, do you want to start us off with a...
Let's bow first.
Yeah, about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice little moment of arrival.
Yes. So everyone should... Do you want to do it?
No.
Everyone take a good posture. Can you hear us? Just one person say hi. Just one person. Okay. That's our new rule. The first person to say hi answers for everyone. Nope, just one person. Okay. Take a good posture. Take a good breath. And with respect and friendship and remembering your mission, why we're doing all of this, which is to be a benefit, to be mindful, give it away. Now we're going to do about 45 minutes of yogic chants in Yiddish. So if you don't mind beginning with the traditional Kung Fu bow. Okay.
All right, so a couple of announcements before we jump into talking about Instagram. The first is make sure you're checking your email. That's where anything and everything important comes from for us. So if you're not getting about 3 to 4 emails a week from us, then you are missing out. And you want to email academy@elephantjournal.com so we can get you those emails ASAP and figure out what's been happening.
So what do you use the emails for?
So we send an email a week about a meeting reminder.
One email a week about that?
Can you hear us, Anna?
Yes, I hear you.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Welcome to Elephant Academy. So, Caitlin's doing a couple housekeeping announcements.
Okay.
Which are riveting. They're about checking your emails so far.
So check your email, one a week about meeting reminder, one about homework and your LMS being live, and then any extra announcements or love notes that we have to send you. And then the second thing is, remember that this course moves fast. We only have 3 months together, and it is really intensive. And, just do your best and recognize that if you're going to be away or if you're on vacation, just get caught back up. It's on you to get caught back up and go through the material. We're, of course, here to support, but just know where your resources are. And then the third announcement is regarding taking care of yourselves and any sort of burnout we've been feeling from some of you hearing from some of you that you feel like you're maybe failing because you're not making your own memes or you're not making your own content 24/7 for your pages. Remember to take care of yourselves and have fun with this.
You only need to make your own memes and post to your Facebook pages 22/6. Okay?
Take care of yourselves. Use Parade and share content from other apprentices and enjoy it and connect with what you're posting.
Well, and also we're posting on 4 different accounts: Eco Folks, etc., Elephant Journal, Walk the Talk Show, Waylon Lewis. Generally original content or quality content that you can reshare to your pages. So use those if you don't have time to make your own stuff. Making your own memes is not essential to mindful communication.
What is essential is that you're connecting and enjoying what you're posting.
Yeah, you can post stuff from Hannah. Well,
all right.
All right, are we good?
Yeah.
Hannah, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Perfect, we can hear you.
Yeah.
So
let's jump into talking about Instagram and introducing Hannah.
Great. So everyone, everyone fangirl a little bit on Hannah. You're welcome to. Huge thanks for joining us. It's super fun.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're very inspiring and fun, and you hear all that from little people on Instagram messages all day long. But we're here to tell you in a slightly larger form. Well, we're on your phone, so we're still little people. So
guys,
this is going to be a little bit of a conversation because I want to talk about Elephant's journey with Instagram, but it's mostly going to be, Hannah, if you don't mind, maybe just take us a little bit through your sort of path. Like maybe you graduated college, like when did all this Instagram stuff start? and how do you use it to provide for your right livelihood in your career, as well as maybe fulfilling your mission to be of benefit and inspire people?
Okay.
Just a little question.
A lot of questions.
Yeah.
So, it's been very recent that I guess anybody's taken notice to my page, although I've been posting for a long time. I was
Hannah, sorry to jump in. So what do you think changed there?
Honestly, it has a lot to do with, I think, I came back in the USA and I was traveling and I was doing a lot of acro yoga because I had fallen in love with it. And then I met a partner who was also in love with acro yoga, and we fell in love.
Yeah. Is that Pablo?
That's Pablo.
Yeah, I just read up on you a little bit. So, so that dynamic and that relationship, there was some sort of story and drama there that people could connect with.
Yeah. I mean, I guess so. As soon as I got him, and then we got a dog, and we got a house, and everybody started watching. It was great.
Nice. So, sorry, I interrupted you with your story, your path.
Oh no, it's okay. Let's see. So just more on my journey. So yeah, I had been traveling internationally for about 7 years, and I was moving in that time about every 3 to 6 months, which I'm sure many of you know is very ungrounding. And I was at a point where I didn't care where I lived anymore. It was only about having a place to practice and donating all of my time to that. So I said, you know what? I'm sick of visas. I'm moving back in the USA, which I never thought I'd say. And I'm going to spend all my time doing yoga and acro yoga. I had just found acro yoga while I was living in Medellin, Colombia. And so I basically wanted to go around the USA and learn all about this acro yoga stuff and live out of my Prius and do whatever it took to practice all day long.
So, you know, this is exactly what, or this is one example, you are one example, I should say, of what Elephant Academy is dedicated to. That in 2017, using social media tools, anyone can kind of live their dream. And that doesn't mean life is perfect. It's still hard work sometimes, but you can live a meaningful livelihood and be of benefit. There are hundreds and thousands of young and older yoga teachers who struggle to make a living doing so, let alone massage therapists or writers, whatever you want to look at. And you're, you know, I saw you were teaching on super yachts, which I didn't know was a thing. And so you went from like being one of those young yoga teachers to, I assume, so maybe, you know, hopefully this isn't too personal, but how do you then leverage that audience and that enthusiasm to make a living, you know, through yoga retreats or yoga workshops or sponsorships to make a living, whatever you feel comfortable discussing?
So I guess, yeah, I know a thing or two about being a struggling yoga teacher. Absolutely. I did years, and it's really, really hard to have 5 jobs while you're trying to make one thing happen that you're basically volunteering at. Like even working on super yachts. It sounds lush, but I was a slave. Complete slave.
That sounds like a great article somewhere. I was a slave on a super yacht.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's slave work, and I hated every minute of it.
Wow, that's so interesting. Huh.
Was.
What's that?
So yeah, being able to reach a large audience basically is just great because you can fill the workshops that you want to teach. You can fill the retreats as far as financial goes. But Pablo and I mean, have just been, we weren't able to pay rent from anything, 6 months ago. We were draining savings. So being able to host our little weekly classes and do some retreats here and there and get to spend all of our time with Nalu, there's nothing more we could ask for.
Nalu, your doggy?
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a similar story. One of our good friends at Elephant is Rachel Braithen, who I'm sure you know, Yoga Girl. And she started off, again, as a sort of young, broke yoga teacher, blogging on Elephant way back in the day. And then obviously caught fire with Instagram with a combination of this sort of beautiful physicality and then in the captions, some meaningful content. So my question to you is, what is your approach when you're putting up a video or an image? What are you trying to communicate or to share?
I mean, I guess a lot of what I write about is my story. I mean, obviously I know my story the best, and I would hope that it would resonate with other people out there and give younger people some guidance if they were looking at something. I do a lot of talks in my stories, and people, they seem well received. People seem like they want to hear someone saying, hey, you know, like, I don't have any leverage here to offer you anything. I just am telling you what I wish I'd known maybe 10 years ago. And if you want, here you go.
Yeah. So I guess, you know, one of the things I hate about social media, and many of us probably share that abject hatred, which is not a word we all love, but there's a level of self-involvement.
Totally.
And kind of showing off. And there's this beautiful quote about social media that says something like, we've all had that experience, maybe even you, early in the morning, scrolling through, you know, you have all kinds of fans and everyone thinks your life is perfect and Pablo is super hot and your dog is cute and you're traveling around, living the dream. But then sometimes, you know, you might get on the phone in the morning or on Instagram, and there's this quote that says, we all know our behind the scenes, but we only see other people's highlights. Sure. And I love that quote. So there's people like yourself or Rachel or hopefully, you know, other friends in our sort of elephant family and who go out of their way, as you said, to resonate, to connect with people. So not to just be like, I'm fabulous, I'm fit, I'm in this great relationship, and you don't have any of that, and you should idolize me, kind of Kardashian style maybe. Although I can't really speak to them. I'm not a fan. I don't pay attention. So maybe they're great. But so how do you use Instagram and other social media not to just glorify yourself, which nothing is wrong with, you know, that great Marianne Williamson quote, like, don't hide your light. So nothing's wrong with that. But how do you use it to uplift others?
Yeah. I mean, I guess, you know, just being real and being like, look, just because this is my path doesn't mean it's yours, you know, and maybe it doesn't seem like really that cool to other people for them to live out of their car and practice yoga all day. I mean, when you're peeing in a cottage cheese container because you live in a van, I mean, is that really glorious? I don't know. So of course there's ups and downs, just showing that whole thing and being like, these are the sacrifices I'm ready to make because I love something.
I love that. Right. I think we need to share that as a quote.
Yeah.
When you're peeing in a cottage container. What was the rest of that? That was awesome. Anyway, we'll figure it out. That was great. So are there any downsides or frustrations with your social media activity? I mean, you have to post a lot probably. I don't know. Comments, questions?
Yeah, I want to hear about kind of the community of people that are following you and any sort of criticism you might receive and how you deal with that, because I'm sure that can be a challenge at times.
Yeah, like I said, we were lucky enough to grow pretty rapidly. So I'd say I was less prepared than maybe some that would see more kind of gradual growth. So yeah, but you know, I guess I've gotten pretty good with that, or just kind of buffing it off, because you know, the thing is, like, we're so grateful and we're so happy, I mean, in our lives, that yeah, I mean, obviously bad comments, like, they hurt, but you just can't really get involved. You just got to say, you know what, that's somebody else's shit and I can't deal with it.
And on the other side, you know, one thing we really teach in the academy generally is, you know, critical comments are welcome and can really help you on your path. Trolling comments that you're kind of talking about, that's just people's stuff.
Totally.
So do you ever get tough comments that actually have inspired or helped you?
Yeah, if I feel like there's, you know, if there's, you know, value and it's not just somebody being mean in a comment, even if it is then yeah, I'll definitely go out of my way to answer it or do a following about it. And I think it's a great mirror. And I've actually posted about that before. Like, hey, you guys want to say something and you think that it's valid, then please, by all means, be my mirror and hold it up for me. I'm ready.
Good for you. Good for you. So do you ever, there's also this sort of fangirl or fanboy element where people kind of objectify you and they feel like they have a relationship with you because they kind of do on Instagram, but they kind of also don't.
Right.
You know, it's called fame. And does that ever, you know, I struggle with that a little bit. I get like 80 comments a day from a couple of different people every day. And, you know, there's only so many hearts you can kind of send back. There's some level of like, you don't want to shut them out. But so I guess my question is, how do you relate to the positive side of the questions where that also can be a little bit almost, you know, people worshiping?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I don't get super involved as far as, you know, like liking or commenting. I feel like I put out a lot and I just kind of leave it because I've said what I have to say kind of thing. I don't know if you're talking about like in-person meetings or just.
Well, maybe that too, but I mean more like specifically on Instagram when you're getting all those messages, you probably get hundreds a day. Do you respond to those? How do you relate with those?
So I don't. And I tell people that ever have come to my classes or my retreats or workshops or anything that I don't respond. You can email me if you have a question, but I don't respond to DMs because it's just too much. And a lot of times people can keep asking a lot of questions. And then I just got mailboxes upon mailboxes full of mail. And it's just not possible for me to get through it and still have a life. And I think that's fair for me to draw the line somewhere. And a lot of times I'll scroll through them. I'll see what I can answer, and I'll answer that publicly, either in a post or in a story.
You do have a question?
Yeah. So one of the things we talk a lot about in Academy is sort of this concept of slow social media, mindful social media. And what you just said spoke to that in terms of having a boundary around your phone and, you know, what can also put you up in front of the world 24/7 can also sort of break you down and overwhelm you with so much going on and so much contact. So can you speak a little bit about how you have gotten so big in your social media presence, but built a balance around using it mindfully?
Yeah, I guess it just takes probably some time. I mean, obviously it's been a huge learning experience, for me. And, as far as like time management and that goes, just being able to, you know, say no. And anybody I've ever told that to says, that's a great idea, or I totally respect you for doing that. Like, and people understand. I speak to it in the stories and I say, hey, look, guys, I do my best to scroll through here and try to catch your comments and answer them. And everybody says, you know, good, you should do that. You should be living your life with your dog and Pablo. Like, that's what we want to see anyway, right? So go do that.
Yeah, so that's something that comes up in all our relationships with our partners or our friends or just ourselves is, you know, the amount of time we all spend looking down at our phones now, which from a yoga teacher point of view, maybe isn't the best posture. So, you know, I guess how many times do you post a day and how long does it take you? And do you set aside, do you, as Caitlin said, create a boundary? So you say, hey, Pablo, or whoever you're around, hey, Pablo, I'm going to be posting for the next 5, 10, 20 minutes. How do you do that in a way where it doesn't ruin your life?
Yeah, I think he knows, you know, that I've got to do my thing when I've got to do it. A lot of times with like the written pieces, I usually just hang out and wait for inspiration, and I'll start jotting those down when they come. As far as actual posting goes, it's been a little bit more sporadic lately. I was posting a lot when we first started, and now I've backed off a little. And I think that sometimes we just need more space than other times. And again, people have to understand.
Yeah. Okay, good for you. So it sounds really like you're operating not out of, so there's a real, what Buddhists would call poverty mentality in social media where you're trying to get likes and followers and fans and respond to everything. And, you know, there's that Portlandia skit where the guy has like an iPad and his laptop and he's trying to watch Netflix and get back to email and he's trying to do his Snapchat and like 8 different things and he goes insane and he blows up or something. But it sounds like you're really operating out of a sense of relaxation in a way, like doing, you know, going with the flow, kind of surfing style.
Yeah, it has to come pretty organically for me. That's kind of the only way I operate. So I kind of have one setting on that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, who knows?
Well, I think it's definitely good if you have, once you have that following, and maybe even in the creating of it, people follow you because what you're sharing isn't just, I mean, Elephant gets tagged, you know, in dozens of beautiful yoga people doing beautiful yoga poses in beautiful locations every single day. And there's these accounts that that's all they share, you know, and that's fine. But there's something else that people are relating to in your character and your, you know, some relationship that isn't just built on your incredible physicality and, you know, the stuff you're doing, which is impressive. But there's more, you know, there's more to it. Like I would always say, I interviewed Chris Sharma, who's a famous climber, and I said, you know, my question for him was, there's hundreds of climbers who are in better shape than you, who are taller than you, who are younger than you. Why, you know, what's the difference? Why are you the greatest? You know, same question could be asked of Michael Jordan or anything. And it's like, there's something spiritual going on. There's some relationship going on. Anyway, if anyone in the comments has questions as well.
We have one,
Okay.
but I think this would be a good time to talk a little bit about Gypset Goddess.
Yeah.
And regarding the
Another gyp.
Yeah. Well, let me actually ask that question first. Why the handle Gypsyon? What's the origin of that?
I actually have that tattooed on my arm. You can see it there. I've had that tattoo since 2014. So I saw that as like a meme. It was like keep calm and gypsy on when I was living in South Africa. And it followed me around until I was living in Bondi Beach, Australia the following year, maybe 2 years later. And I just woke up one day and I was like, you know what? That's a great reminder to myself. I need to tattoo that right on my arm where I can see it.
I love that.
Thanks.
So yeah, so there's a friend of mine back in the day. So a little bit about Elephant's Instagram story, but I really don't want to waste our precious time with you. So if anyone has questions for Hannah,
Yeah, and this will kind of complement where I want to get us with Hannah. So just talking a little bit about the basics. Yeah.
So Elephant, you know, I was able to win #1 in the country twice nationally on Twitter for environmental content. Blow our Facebook presence up really huge, bigger than Huffington Post when it started. But when I got onto Instagram, the reason that's not a brag is, well, one, it's true, and number two, when I got on Instagram, I couldn't do the same thing. It was the first time I connected with the community that I couldn't really figure out. All I saw was people, friends like Rachel Braithen, sharing bikini yoga photos and like captions, and I just didn't care. I just felt like I just didn't get it. I kind of had an attitude about it. And I have many yoga friends and sort of famous yoga friends, and one of them, Gypset Goddess, was Instagram famous and had kind of similar to you, but totally different person, had built her career off of sort of her Instagram photos of herself and her friends and her fashion and her travels and her yoga poses, which were stunningly beautiful. And you know, really well, the photography itself is beautifully done. So when we were hanging out, I said, what do I do, you know, on Instagram? Because it's important for Elephant to connect on Instagram, but I just don't get it. I don't want to post photos of me all day. I'm like pretty boring. I'm just working on my laptop and drinking coffee and talking with people. And today I was swimming a lot, but it's not very exciting, and I can't do anything like what you do, Hannah. So, or Pablo for that matter. So she said, just great advice for everyone who's watching this. she'd say, what's your thing? What is your thing? If your thing is being obsessed about avoiding plastic, then post about that. If your thing is meditation, being a helpful aspect of your life, then post about that. If your thing is, you love books, then post about that. So whatever your thing is, find your thing. And that is such obvious advice. I immediately tried to kick myself in the head, but I'm not as flexible as Hannah or Gypsy Goddess, so I wasn't able to do so. So I tried to kick myself in the head, and I immediately I said, okay, well, I grew up Buddhist. I care about the environment. I care about politics. I care about composting. I care about bicycling. I care about having fun. I care about service. So I'm just going to post about all those things. And we have, in terms of elephant, tens of thousands or whatever of articles that are great. So I'm going to post about those articles as well. So the other piece of advice Gypsy Goddess shared that is applicable to everybody and actually contradicts what Hannah said here, and I actually prefer Hannah's approach, but what we did, which worked, which Gypsy Goddess said is, she said, when you're trying to build up, and maybe you did this organically, so maybe there's no contradiction, but when you're trying to build it up, you have to post every 3 or 4 hours. So basically, get a ton of likes the first hour, less the second hour, less the third hour, less the fourth hour, and then after the fourth hour, you're no longer getting that many likes. So basically be consistent. And that is, again, fantastic advice for social media generally. When people, like I jumped on YouTube and garnered 5+ million views, and I was super consistent for a year or two, and people started having a relationship with me on YouTube. And then I stopped because mainly our sales department didn't really want me devoting that much of my day to YouTube. So that's not very good of me. Like, you have to maintain a relationship. And if you're taking pauses and doing less and more like Hannah does, I think that's organic and that's human and that's wonderful. But at least particularly when you're building up, it helps to be consistent. So we did those two things. What is our thing? We mainly post quotes about accessible wisdom for everyday life. And number 2, we were consistent. And we immediately went from 40,000 followers, which we had for like a year and a half. We really didn't grow. And we experienced that kind of growth that I think Hannah on some level experienced, or on a higher level perhaps. And so we grew, and now we're at 450,000 on 4 different accounts. One account we really aren't trying to grow it that much, mainly because it's too much. We have like 3 accounts is already enough. But that's our story and our wisdom for you guys that could be helpful. So if anyone has more questions for Hannah, I mean, I'm sure I can think of 40 more questions. Or Hannah, if you have anything.
Yeah, we've got some questions,
Okay.
And then I've got some questions. And Hannah, if you have anything to add to what Waylon just said, if anything came up.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like I said, I was posting a lot. So I think that's probably not too big of a contradiction. I was posting a lot when we were living in San Diego.
Oh, I have one question. So stories. I finally got into, I didn't relate to stories at all.
Let's just explain what that is quickly for non-Instagram people.
You want to explain what stories are? And how you use them, maybe? How much you post?
Sure, yeah.
What you try to do?
So I hated the idea of stories when they first started because they were kind of like Snapchat, and I don't know anything about Snapchat, and I don't do Snapchat, so I didn't want to do anything. But then I started just kind of waking up in the morning with like my sleepy face, pretty much how I am now, and my robe on, and I'd go out there with my coffee, and I just kind of start talking. And that's what I got a lot of feedback, so everybody seemed to really enjoy that, and people are always like, do a YouTube, do a podcast, and I branched out a little, but like you were talking about with the YouTube, it just got to be too much. And then I had those people say, well, go back to Instagram because I missed the stories. Needless to say, they're little bubbles at the top of your Instagram app. And you can click on it, and it's kind of more about like daily life, I'd say, for most people. A lot of people just do silly stuff like their smoothie or their cat, and I do a lot of my dog. Exactly. Yeah. So I think it gets you a little bit maybe closer to the person where there's a little more distance in posts.
Yeah, so fantastic. And your stories are great. And it's a whole nother level of relationship. Instead of this somewhat static thing or a recorded video, there's this sort of live updates of your day. There's one person I kind of love and kind of am confused by, who does like 80, she does like 80 stories a day. I feel like her presence on Instagram is amazing, but I honestly feel like one day she may stop physically existing and just exist within Instagram. And if you actually knew her as a friend, I just wonder if her phone is in front of her face all day long.
Totally.
So again, I think with stories, it's that balance of respecting yourself and your partner and your friends and your life and your dog and even your fans or your friend, whatever, by not getting too caught up in the digital world, the 3D world, real food, you know. So I actually love stories now, and I do them all the time. And I really have no agenda with stories, which I love. So I just share things I like. Like yesterday, I was like biking along, kind of humming, and I just filmed the view of the mountains as I biked. And it was a dorky video with me just humming and looking at these mountains that blow my mind. And even as I'm doing it, I'm paying attention to actually the mountains, not to my phone particularly. So often the filming is really off. And I love talking to the camera and just communicating accessible, I'm more Buddhist, so accessible Dharma, wisdom for everyday life. And stories are fantastic for that. And Hannah, yeah, I see you do a mix of a ton of talking, like a ton of, you're in some way trying to be helpful to your friends out there in the internet, and then also just showing your day a bit. Is that sort of the mix you do?
Yeah, that sometimes breaks from like the speaking, and sometimes I just get caught off on other subjects and talk too much. I think if you do too many, it seems like to me people won't sit there and watch them all. I don't know, maybe I just generally don't do that. Maybe we don't have the time to do that. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, keeping it, there's times where I'm like, you know, no phone today, like no phone for a few hours, taking the dog on a walk, you know, no phone, I'm practicing. So yeah, just having that balance is huge.
So, you know, like this morning I was hanging out with my friend and we had been hanging out a lot, and then we went to a cafe and she drove and I biked. And I saw her get out of the car, and literally the entire walk to the cafe, she was focusing on her phone while walking. And when I got there, I was like, hey, it's okay. We can hang out and you can do your work. Like, you clearly have work to catch. She was trying to respond to everyone quickly before we were hanging out at the cafe. And I think that's an important thing for everyone out there to know, that it's okay to monotask, to say, look, for the next 5-10 minutes, I need to focus on texting or phone, make a call or posting on my Instagram or stories, so that you're not trying to multitask all the time. Because multitasking is actually kind of what ruins your life. So I want to encourage people to feel like it's okay to, social media and phones and all this get a lot of help, but if you actually treat them with some respect and a craft, and you do quality stuff on there and focus fully, it'll be better for your brain, basically.
Yeah, and
that makes sense.
I want to touch on that, back to the stories. It's, you know, a question I'll ask myself when I'm sharing on Instagram or Facebook is there a meaning why I'm sharing this? Not everything needs to be shared, and, you know, it can be that mindful use of connecting with being out on your balcony in your bathroom, drinking coffee and just talking about life, but some stuff just doesn't need to be shared, and sort of having that consciousness around your stories, being real, being authentic, and not being someone who you don't want to be just because you think you need to be like Hannah or like Waylon or whoever you idolize on Instagram.
Yeah, there's a powerful like mindfulness Instagram or social media, particularly Instagram, I think, lesson that I like to talk about once in a while, which is, we've talked already in the Academy about using social media instead of being used by it. So often you'll go on a hike or something with someone and you'll see a beautiful flower or whatever, and you'll be like, I know that's going to get photoed in Instagram. It's coming. Or there will be some cute dog being cute with some little blonde kids, or black-haired kids or brown-haired kids, whatever color hair you want. And you're like, I know that's going to get Instagram. So it's a powerful practice to not Instagram everything. You're not working for Mark Zuckerberg. You're not working for Instagram. Remember to enjoy your hike. Remember to enjoy that flower or those kids or that dog in real life, 1990s style, without taking a photo and sharing it instantly. And it's also okay to do something awesome, like go to a concert or have an amazing meal without sharing it. Like, it's actually kind of powerful to just experience it without documenting it in a show-offy way. And that's not meant to be a criticism or condescending. We all do that. You know, we all fall into that. So I really think, Hannah, the most powerful lesson I'm getting from you today so far is you're not doing it out of that poverty mentality. You're not doing it out of desperation. You're doing what you want to do. You're using it mindfully, which is really rare in a way.
Yeah. We've got several questions from the audience, so I'm just going to jump into some of those. And one of them relates to Facebook. So I think what I'm curious with regard to this question is, do you focus on other social media platforms as well as Instagram, or is Instagram really your thing and your only focus right now?
Instagram is my only focus. I know I should branch out, but again, things just need to happen organically for me, and I'm not big on Facebook or any of the other channels, so I just do what I like and kind of do what I want, and we'll see how this goes.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I was good personal friends with Rachel through her career, and I'm talking about Yoga Girl, who obviously most people will know, but did pretty well on Instagram, etc. And I did see her approach was a little bit the opposite of what Hannah just said, and I love Hannah's approach. But Rachel started, like, once she had success with Yoga Girl, that account, she then basically like commandeered her partner's, Dennis's Instagram, and he still posted and owned it, you know, but she like really promoted it. So that got big, and then they started one for their dog.
The baby has one. No. The baby has one.
The baby has one. Then they started one for their foundation for saving rescue dogs, Sergeant Pepper, whatever. And then she leveraged that into Snapchat. She leveraged that into a book. You know, she definitely took care to a website, now a yoga studio, you know, to diversify, which is really obvious advice. But the danger there with the diversification thing is that, again, you can start, you know, the whole career business, when people say yoga industry or mindfulness demographic, there's a danger there where you're starting to view all this stuff that you love as with an agenda to make money. And money should be part of right livelihood. It's a foundation of it, but it's not the purpose. So I know we have a lot of questions, but let's please get anything out of this. Remember that the world is in need of beautiful people being beautiful and generous and kind. By beautiful, I don't mean superficially. I mean kind, empathy, actually caring and helping the world. And in a way that can be good for business. If people feel you being genuine, like with Hannah, they'll connect, they'll have a relationship. If they feel you promoting yourself, they'll almost feel like this, you know?
Yeah, so along the same line as that question, when you're using Instagram to promote your classes or your workshops or your retreat, what sort of approach are you taking and how you share it?
I guess probably a pretty typical path. I mean, we usually do, honestly, we just keep it with our usual media, and then we'll talk about it. I'm not big on doing a lot of like flyers or like, I don't know, any kind of posters and that kind of stuff. So we usually keep it pretty chill, and I just talk about it in the caption. And if people want to come, that's great. We've done a couple before, but it's not usually our thing.
Yeah, so just something.
Wait, sorry, what's not usually your thing?
The like the flyers and the posters. Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, just to briefly bring it back to another example, because with Hannah, this is talking about an event or a class. With Elephant, we've used Instagram to sell the hats, which are behind Waylon, as well as the book. But kind of, if you would speak to your approach in terms of selling without being salesy using Instagram.
Yeah, we Instagram has been, you know, huge. We have an epic Facebook following. We have 11 million readers on our blog a month minimum. We've been to up to 23, but Instagram, I would say, is probably our most front-facing vehicle for like our first entrance welcome door. For our first hat, we sold out super quickly. Bernie Sanders featured it, NBC featured it, and my book, my approach, as Caitlin is asking about, is not to advertise the book. I hate that. It's more to share the content of the book. So I share a little quote, like some quote about the theme of and then from the actual book. And then if people want more, they can get that in the caption, kind of like what Hannah just said. And then, and it's worked. It's been kind of amazing. It's enabled me to publish a book in a very profitable way without working with big publishers or having any distribution. What else did I, there we go, something else. Having the agent and the publicist and the book tour. So I've been able to print an eco book. There was no books are eco anymore, like really none. And I was able to do it super mindfully. I'm getting clicking sound. And then, you know, we ship it in an eco way. We did everything wrong, and we were still able to be successful because of it. And then what else do we sell? Oh, the Academy itself, we basically promote it, again, using mindful content, hopefully from, and you all can let us know what was effective, what wasn't effective, but we try to share the theme and the meaning in the Academy, the point of the Academy, not just like, sign up and do Elephant Academy and pay $250 or $700 and get these 5 different things. It's more like a quote about the mission, maybe said by some journalist, maybe said by some social media mindful star, whatever. So it's more about sharing the heart of stuff, and then people connect with that. Boom.
Right. So it's about sharing your thing that you care about, and your thing doesn't have to put you in a box that's super limiting and hard to get out of. It's just like, you know, Hannah with yoga and acro yoga, and whatever accounts you follow have a thing that they are passionate about, and you get to know the person behind the account and almost have that conversation with their passions if it's relatable and genuine rather than salesy. So another question relates to when you first started out on Instagram, Hannah. As we've talked about and touched on a couple of times throughout this meeting, you know, until you got big, maybe you were taking a different approach. Were you saying you would post once a day? Were you committing to that regular, frequent posting and engaging with your community? Because in the beginning, it does take work. It takes work to grow what you're doing and put your content out there. And until you got big, did you have that sort of feeling of commitment or obligation as to how you approach those?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I'd say I still do. I mean, I like to post a lot. So it's harder for me to actually not post, to like post less, but I've been kind of making myself do that more lately and taking more time and stepping back more often. But yeah, when I was hitting it hard, I was posting sometimes like 4 or 5 times a day. And that's all video. So that's a lot of like shooting content, editing, like it's great because we were doing what we love. But it was a lot of like editing and work in between those acro, you know, flows.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions about kind of body type or that sort of thing. That's pretty specific to the content of what Hannah is posting. And I think in a way that's not exactly about social media mindful use, but I think they're great and obvious questions, and Rachel got a bunch of those too. Anyone doing something physical is going to necessarily going to have to address those kinds of questions. So maybe, Hannah, you could touch on how you inspire or how you deal with people who maybe are like, wow, you're so fit, I could never be like that. Or, you know, because you don't want to encourage people to have an unhealthy relationship with their own body, whatever that is, right?
Yeah, no, not at all. And I just did an interview last night. It was for bikini.com, and they said, well, how do you look best in a bikini? And I said, a smile is the best outfit you'll ever wear. Being happy and being confident, we all come in a different size package, and we're all using footage our best. I just posted a picture yesterday, and I posted one that said, you know, what I think I look like in a photo. And then the next one was, you know, what I actually look like in a photo. And it's like, come on, guys, we're all using thumbnails and we're all using photos that we think are the best of ourselves. And anybody can do that. It just takes some editing and maybe a filter, you know, it's just that grab picture.
Yeah, we've all had the experience. I had this recently where you're like with posing in a photo with 6 good friends, and you take like, so whoever takes the photos takes like 30 photos for whatever reason. So you go through all 30 photos, and guess whose face you're looking at the entire time? You only really care how you look, and everyone else can be damned. So you're like, oh, I look okay. Oh, I look okay. Oh, I hate that one. Oh, there I look pretty good. Boom. And everyone else could be like, you know, halfway doing something else, but you don't really care. And that's sort of referred to in, what's that show called? Black Mirror. This lady's partner, I'm not going to give anything away, but this lady's partner goes away and comes back. And he comes back in a physical manifestation of his virtual online presence. And he's better looking than he was in real life. And she says, why are you better looking? And it's because his physical presence is only based on every photo he ever took of himself and showed it. So, you know, that's a fundamental mission for Elephant, and it sounds like also for Hannah is Maitri, which Pema Chodron writes a lot about. If any of you haven't read Pema, if I can ever order you to do anything in your life, that would be it. She talks a lot about Maitri. We have a lot of blogs on Elephant about it, but it's really making friends with yourself. And that sounds nice, but it's really hard. Making friends with the parts of yourself that you don't like. You know, it's getting to the point where you can be your own date in any situation. You can travel, you can go to a movie, you can go to dinner, whatever it is, and with your own best friend.
I'm going to take us slightly off course just for a moment, because some of the comments we're getting are people saying, I don't know how to use Instagram, I don't know how to get started. And you know, what I would encourage you to do if you're inspired by what we've talked about and want to check it out is go to YouTube and just look up some really basic videos about Instagram, and know that sort of the entry point into Instagram is the image that you're taking, or the quote image that you're sharing, or the video that you're sharing. That's the first thing people see. And is that something that you connect with doing, and how you present yourself?
Yeah, and all of this is not to say you need to be on Instagram. I think it's a full decision from a mindful point of view, which, like you saw Hannah, focuses on Instagram, right? Elephant has chosen to focus on Facebook and on Instagram, and now Instagram stories. And what else do we do? Is that about it?
That's the main things.
Yeah.
Facebook Live a little bit.
Facebook Live, YouTube. So we really don't focus on Pinterest for now. There's certain things we don't focus on. Snapchat.
Yeah.
And that's also a mindful lesson. And by mindful, I don't mean like the Buddha being good. It means like for your life, if you want to be successful, don't try to do everything. So here's a specific question from Allie, and we probably have to wrap up pretty soon. So let's get to Allie. Is that all right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can Hannah talk about the economics? Is it majorly classes and retreats? Again, sort of the how do you leverage your following? Or do the interviews pay? Like with bikini.com, do they pay? Curious how it all comes about and how you decide what to participate in. That last kernel is a great question. How do you decide what you participate in?
Oh God, I mean, I'm completely still learning. forever learner when it comes to this stuff. I mean, it depends. Like, what is the product? What do you want to participate in? I mean, is it a company you like? Have you looked into it? Do you know them? Do you wear their stuff? Do you like their stuff? What's the article going to be for? Who's asking? I don't know. Other than those things, it's so few and far between. I really, yeah.
I was mentored a little bit by Sean Korn, who's a well-known yoga teacher, not big on social media, which is interesting, a little bit of a prior generation in a way. And I had a lot of difficulties because I was not only negotiating for myself in some ways with all these conferences and this and that, but also for Elephant. And often people wanted things like sponsored ads and all that from Elephant. And it was really hard. There's a lot of politics, and you find out really quickly that yoga business people are just as complicated or difficult sometimes as more conventional business world. So it really takes, I think, again, what Hannah just displayed, somewhat a beginner's mind, trusting your own instincts. Who do you want to work with? Just kind of common sense stuff will take you through. And finding some mentors. Like Sean definitely, I remember we sponsored this big yoga conference out in LA one year, and I nearly got into a physical altercation within like 5 minutes of arriving. This guy was so mad at me. There was something we had done. And nearly got, like I was challenged to a fist fight in the middle of this yoga conference. It was like pretty comical. And Sean just took me off and I wasn't trying to start any physical thing. I had no idea what was going on. And Sean just like grabbed me and put me in her car and took me to Topanga and I just asked her questions the whole time. Because she, you might think stars have it easy, but they're subject to all kinds of pressures from every direction. And, so find mentors is always a good, Hannah can be your mentor in some ways. Like this meeting, anyone who sees this video, she can help mentor you in a sense. So I think just keep your center and really, like I have a friend, Daniel Epstein, who's the founder of Unreasonable, and I said, like I have a appearance rate. I'm sorry if I'm taking too much time, but how do I negotiate a rate for appearing at a conference? Daniel, so I asked Daniel because he's been flown all over the world, like they paid $30,000, $50,000 for an hour to talk to a bank, kind of thing that Hillary got a lot of help for. And he basically says, look, I'll do something for free if I like it and it's a good cause. I'll definitely do something if I like it and it's good money. If it's amazing money and I don't like it that much, I won't do it. But it's really just common sense. Like, how much do you want to do it? And if you want to do it but they don't have a budget, you'll probably will do it for free or for very. And the contrary is true. If you don't really want to do it, but it's amazing money that you can then do great things with, maybe you'll do it.
Yeah, so it's kind of this scarcity complex that comes about. And it's realizing you can call in what you want to call in terms of communication.
But again, not doing stuff, like Hannah was saying, out of desperation.
Right. I have a question regarding hashtags, because if, even if you're big on Instagram now, or if you're new to Instagram, there's this thing called a hashtag. And just very briefly what that is, it's a kind of a sub-community, a sub-thread that you can search for different key terms that relate to what you're posting. Hannah, in a lot of your posts, I don't see too many hashtags. Is that something you're focusing on, or just kind of letting it come in naturally as you post?
Sometimes I use them and sometimes I don't. But I do, I've stopped for a little while and then I kind of started again. Sometimes I like to kind of play with just different things and see what happens mostly. But yeah, if I use them, obviously I use any that pertain to yoga or acro yoga of any kind, and I put it in my comments, not in my actual section. So if you were looking for them, you wouldn't necessarily see them. You'd have to go to the top of my comments and check there.
Yeah, and when you have a couple hundred comments, people aren't going to see it. So you can put it in the comment. It still goes into yoga video or yoga retreat or whatever your hashtag is. Hannah, is there anything you would like to talk about that you feel like I've skipped over or that we haven't asked you?
I feel pretty good about it. I've been trying to kind of look at the questions here, but I know we kind of got through some of those. So, Molly, I really like your response to that last question. And yeah, I mean, unless anybody else has got any questions, I think I'm good.
I have one question. Well, actually two. Is there anything that you would add to the point about shooting photo or video in terms of natural light and just not over filtering what you're posting?
No, I agree. You guys, if anybody's ever looked at my account, you've seen that, you know, we're very raw, so I may not be the person to ask. If you're looking for a really pretty account, that's probably not going to be on our side. But yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you said.
Well, maybe to touch on that, there's a lot of like Instagram pros who don't actually use their phone. For those, they take a photo. They take a professional photo,
Yeah.
They professionally edit it, they send it to their phone, and they post that. Like Jet Set Goddess would do that regularly, not all the time.
And a lot of the food bloggers you see,
Yeah.
many of them are very staged in how they post.
Right, and,
Yeah.
and that can be good. You know, taking a beautiful photo is important. But I also think being raw is important. So you just have to, and genuine. So you'll have to feel that balance out. And there was this funny comment on Reddit a couple of years ago where they said people 20 years from now are going to look at all the Instagram photos and Instagram filters the way we look at photos in the 70s that have this weird hue and this weird thing. So it's like, I really encourage, when I read that, I was like, okay, that really encourages me to go easy on the filters. Like, if you're using a filter, use it to try to capture the natural light instead of trying to make it look crazy. Like some people use these like purple neon filters, and you're like, you know.
Yeah. And one final question that I want to close us out on is, in the beginning of the meeting, you said something really powerful about one of your approaches to Instagram, and that it's really you're just sharing what you wish you would have known 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and just sharing your experience and not trying to necessarily prove something different. So if you would share in maybe 3 or 5 tips to our apprentices on with us today, what you would, based on what you've learned about Instagram and social media, what you hope others would start to witness in their own use of social media and how they approach it.
Okay, I'll try to count.
3 or 5, ballpark, doesn't matter.
My friend just asked me that the other day, and I said, you know, I just think the most powerful thing is being yourself and not trying to be anybody else, following your path and just authentically relaying that. I think is really relatable and kind of puts us all at ease. We don't have to put, you know, square pegs in a round box. Do I need to come up with a whole bunch more?
At least one more.
Hey, Hannah, I'll jump in there just to give you a second, maybe spark something new. So I wasn't going to if you had 3 to 5 just to rock with. But on that point, it sounds nice when Hannah says it that way. It sounds common sense, do your thing, be genuine. But there's a real tendency, as we talk about often in the academy, for the tail to wag the dog. That expression means that your content, what you share, is driven by how popular it is. So I will post blogs on composting and like the most boring things that I'm super excited about, and very few, and they're not very visual, and very few people ever care. Like I'll take a photo of a plastic thing on the ground or something, and I'll write some environmental blog about it in the caption, and it'll get like 35 likes, and then I'll put like literally 35, which for me is like an F minus, and then I could put up some cartoon or some cute animal or some meaningful quote, and you get 1,000. So the power of what Hannah just said is you need to be genuine, be yourself, and long term, if nothing else, that will keep your relationship with that social media community alive because you'll care about it. Because if you just follow what the tail wags the dog, if you just post the things that are going to get you 1,000 likes, you might grow a lot, which is also good. So it's good to mix it up. but you'll lose the heart of who you are and what you're here on this planet for.
Absolutely.
Did that give you time to think of another tip, maybe?
Yeah, it did. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I think just along with that and losing yourself to kind of following the popular things, you know, I just can't express enough how, you know, a lot of people come to me and they say, well, I don't know what my thing is. And it's like, oh, you have to find it. And continuing on that search is just kind of your job in life, and curious about everything. So, you know, that never ends. And then maybe you're taking pictures of that or whatever it may be. And the thing may change, but whatever, you know, something may stick. You're throwing a lot against the wall. Something may stick.
The best advice is, like, Hannah, you were talking about the mirror thing earlier in maybe a different context, but your thing is right here already. You may not realize it, but your thing is you. So what are you talking to your friends about? What are you remarking about to yourself? What are you amazed and curious and enthusiastic about in a good or bad way? If you're obsessed with Trump being good or bad, that might be part of your thing. You know, the resistance movement or, you know, whatever. It could be pro-Trump. But whatever your thing is, that's fantastic as long as it's not aggressive or harmful to others. And if I need to put that condition on, you're probably not in this program. But, you know, you definitely want to be of benefit. So one of our hashtags that we'll use is be of benefit. And that's more than a hashtag for us. It's a reminder that if we're posting a photo of food or traveling or whatever it is, that the point of it is that hopefully this will help us and you be of benefit. It's not just to show off or something. And then there's a lot of questions about what hashtags are for. They are a conversation. They're also a way to, so like when the James Comey stuff just happened, right, with Trump, I hashtag James Comey, I hashtag Comey on our posts about it. And it was, hashtags are organized by the top 9 in the whole world. You could hashtag Boulder, Colorado, where I live. You could hashtag yoga retreat, whatever it is. And if you get into those top 9 hashtags, people might be searching for those. James Comey, yoga retreat. Where should I go? Yoga travel, yoga class, whatever. And they'll see your posts. And that's a huge way to get followers and fans and traction, just on a practical level. So, are we wrapped up?
Yeah.
So, Hannah, you blew my mind today. You were so sweet, so genuine and inspiring. I had honestly no idea who you were really as a human being, other than seeing your videos. So I'm so pleased this happened, and I'm really good. And hopefully everyone can say something, whatever you want to Hannah right now in the sidebar. I'm not going to lead the comments by telling you to say something nice. Say whatever you feel. But Hannah, thank you so much, and I hope we can connect a lot.
Thank you, Hannah. This was amazing, and we're grateful for you to come on with us.
What's that?
What's that?
Oh, no, thank you guys so much for having me. I think I'm a little frozen, but I really appreciate being here.
We hear you.
You're good. You want to lead us in a bow out?
Yeah, so Hannah, is there anything you want to close with? Any final word? If not, I can wrap this up.
I think I'm good. I think I'm good.
Okay, you are good. All right, so you're going to take a really good posture, best posture your whole day, like Wonder Woman or Superman, but then relax it. Find your breath. Think about what you just learned. Maybe think of one thing, one takeaway from today. My takeaway is just Hannah's confidence in posting what she wants. So it's not out of desperation or building up a following. It's really just keeping it real, as Joel just said. Take a good posture, connect the earth below, heavens above, your heart in between, and your mission in life, and give it away. All right.
Thank you,
so
everyone.
Thank you.
Love to Pablo and the doggy.
Thank you.
Yeah.